Hey guys, Untitled here back with another video, and today we're going to be looking at a few assertion and reasoning practice questions for Geography Lesson 4 Agriculture, and this is related to the Term 1 board exams. So without any further ado, let's get started. So assertion and reasoning, I'm sure most of you already know, it was a new format of questions that was introduced by the CBSE last year. And essentially it's a format of questions where we're given some sort of statement, and we're also given a possible reason or explanation for that statement. So the statement is the assertion, and the explanation would be the reason. And then the question we're asked to determine whether the statement and explanation are correct, and whether or not the explanation is the correct reasoning for the statement itself. So it sounds a little confusing now, but if you take a look at the options, it'll make a lot more sense. So I'll give you a little example here. It's not related to the syllabus. It's just a random basic question. Assertion: Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. Reason: it has the highest elevation of 8,849 meters. So we have a statement, or you're asserting a fact or a possible statement, and that is that Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. So we know that this is true because it's been proven that the tallest and highest elevation is held by Mount Everest. So we can say that assertion is true. And then the reason or the explanation behind that is because it has the highest elevation of 8,849 meters. So this is also true. So we know that assertion and reason are both true. And is the reason the correct explanation of the assertion? Yes, because it's the most reasonable explanation. It's tallest because it has the highest elevation compared to other mountains of 8,849 meters. So since it's a multiple choice question examination for term 1, we would get options like this. Option A, and usually keep this in mind, assertion and reason are abbreviated as A and R. So A is assertion and R is reason. So on the day of the exam, don't be confused. A is for assertion, R is for reason. So the options would be either assertion and reason are both true, and reason is the correct explanation for assertion. Or option B, assertion and reason are both true, but reason is not the correct explanation for assertion. C, assertion is true, but reason is false. And D, assertion is false, but reason is true. So for this question, let's take a look at it again. Assertion: Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. Reason: it has the highest elevation of 8,849 meters. So I'll give you a few minutes to think about this question and let me know what the answer is. Just pause the video, think about it, and try finding the answer. So if you haven't guessed, it's option A. Assertion and reason are both true, and reason is the correct explanation for the assertion. Now here's a short disclaimer. The options could vary. For example, I've seen a few test practice papers where option D can sometimes be both assertion and reason are false. Whereas here I've written that assertion is false but reason is true. So the good thing is, in every exam, on the top of the exam paper in the instructions, it'll say what the corresponding options are. So don't take my word for it that the options will always be in this format. Look at the instructions and verify the choices every single time. Now that being said, these explanations, I've taken them from the CBSE sample papers that were released a few weeks ago. So it might be correct, and it might be showing up on your real board exam. But don't take my word for it. Again, always check the instructions, because it would be terrible if you lost a mark even if you know the correct answer, but you marked the wrong answer based on the instructions. So again, disclaimer, these may or may not be the choices in the real board exam. Verify it multiple times before writing down the answers. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this is from the sample paper, and the Social Studies sample paper 2021 to 2022. And you can see here, it has assertion is false, reason is true, A is true, it's matching over here. So yeah, correct answer is option A. Assertion is true, reason is true, and reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. So now let's actually get into our topic of agriculture and look at some assertion and reasoning questions. So the first question is assertion: India's primary activity is agriculture. Reason: 2/3 of the population is engaged in this activity. So pause the video and take a few minutes to guess what the answer might be. So yes, the answer is option A. Assertion is true, reason is true, and reason is the correct explanation of the assertion, because the question is asking, or the assertion says that India's primary activity, or majority of the Indian citizens participate in this activity, which is agriculture. And so 2/3 of the population is engaged in this activity. The statistic is also true. It's the first line in our textbook in the lesson agriculture. So both assertion and reasoning is true, and it's the correct explanation. So the best way to take down these questions is to look at assertion and reasoning as separate statements first. So when you're reading the question, cover up the reason first. Just read the assertion as a single statement. Decide whether the assertion is true. Then cover up the assertion, look at the reason, determine if that's true. So if both assertion and reasoning are true, then your options are singled down to either A or B. And then think, is this the correct explanation? Does the reason appropriately explain or give the reasoning and valid conclusion for the assertion? Does the reason back the assertion? Is it the correct explanation? Just question yourself on that, and then you can determine whether it's option A or B. And so if the assertion is wrong or the reason is wrong, then it'll be much easier to determine which one's the right answer. So question 1, the answer is option A. Question number 2. Assertion: crops are grown depending upon the variations in soil, climate, and cultivation practices. Reason: crops are also grown according to availability of water. So take a few seconds to guess this answer, and remember what I told you earlier. Consider each of the assertion and reasoning as a separate statement, and then try answering the question. So pause the video and answer the question. The answer is option B. Assertion and reasoning are both true, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. So if you looked at each statement as an individual, then you would know that assertion is true and reason is true, because crops are cultivated in various areas depending on climate, availability of water resources, soil quality, rainfall, weather conditions, sunlight, amount of labor available, market value, and various other conditions, and also the wealth of the farmers. So all these, the assertion and reason, they're separate statements on their own. They're both true, but they have no correlation to each other. And the reason doesn't provide any correct explanation for the assertion. So the answer is option B. Question number 3. The assertion is that organic farming is much in vogue, and the reason is that in organic farming, crops are grown using high doses of biochemical inputs to increase production. So take a few minutes to guess. Pause the video. So the answer is option C. The assertion is true, but the reason is false. Let me tell you why. Because organic farming is much in vogue. First of all, what does vogue mean? Vogue is one of the textbook vocabulary words, and so textbook vocabulary words are very important, and I can determine that by this question. And vogue is basically the latest trend. So whatever's trending, the newest fad, the newest fashions. And so organic farming is much in vogue. Yes, it's true. Organic farming is definitely the latest trend, because all the wealthy people are consuming organic farming and organically cultivated crops, because they don't use any biochemical inputs. They're grown in soil that doesn't use any fertilizer or pesticides. And so organic farming is also much more expensive. It's only for the rich people, so obviously it's the trend. And the reason here says that organic farming, crops are grown using high doses of biochemical inputs to increase production. So here the reason is false, because no, organic farming does not use high doses of biochemical inputs. In fact, the lack of using these biochemical inputs is what sets organic farming apart from conventional types of farming. And the lack of these biochemical inputs is what making organic farming so popular and trending. Because recent studies have shown that these biochemical inputs are degrading the environment. They're making the soil more alkaline, and they're also polluting the groundwater table. And most importantly, these biochemical inputs have potential harm to our human health, which is why organic farming or organically farmed veggies and fruits are in much vogue, and they're very popular right now. It's also very expensive. So the correct answer is option C. The next question. Assertion: pulses form a major part of a vegetarian diet. Reason: they are rich in protein. Take a few minutes to guess. Pause the video. The correct answer is option A. Assertion is true, reason is true, and reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. So the explanation behind this is that meat and eggs were usually considered as the only sources of protein. So vegetarians had to find an alternative source, and that was pulses. Pulses are highly rich in protein. So moong, urad, and all these different types of dals are highly rich in protein. So for vegetarians who can't consume meat and eggs, pulses are the next best thing. So the assertion is true, reason is true, and it's the correct explanation. Next question. Rice is a subsistence crop in states such as Odisha. Reason: rice is a commercial crop in states such as Punjab and Haryana. Take a few moments to find the correct answer and pause the video. So the answer is option B. Assertion is true, reason is true, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. So let's look at this deeper. Subsistence crops are crops that are used for survival or for self-consumption, and commercial crops are usually cultivated with an economic purpose in mind, to gain profits. So in India, in the southern states, rice is a staple food. In northern states, wheat is a staple food. But that being said, you can still grow wheat in southern states, you can grow rice in northern states. So looking back at our question here, rice is a subsistence crop in states such as Odisha. So even in our textbook it says that the concept behind this is there's this one statement in the textbook that says that some crops could be a subsistence crop in one state and a commercial crop in another state. This entire question is based on that single concept, that one line. So yes, it's true. Odisha and other southern states, rice is a staple food, a subsistence crop. But in Punjab and Haryana, those are in the northwest, they don't consume rice as a staple. Rather, they consume wheat as a staple. So rice is a commercial crop in these states. So in one state such as Odisha, the crop rice is subsistence. And in the other states such as Punjab and Haryana, rice is a commercial crop. So next question. Assertion: rice is cultivated extensively across India. Reason: India is the second largest producer of rice after China. Take a few moments to find the right answer. So the answer is option A. Rice is cultivated extensively across India. Yes, that's true. And reason: India is the second largest producer of rice after China. So obviously the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion, because to take the position as the second largest producer of rice after China, then obviously rice has to be cultivated extensively across the expanse of the country. So assertion and reason are both true, and reason is the correct explanation. Seventh and last question. Assertion: agriculture is a part of the primary sector. Reason: it involves transforming raw materials into more useful goods through the manufacturing process. It shouldn't be goods here. It should be manufacturing process. And so take a few moments to guess, and the answer is option C. Assertion is true, but reason is false. So yes, agriculture is a part of the primary sector. This has some connection to economy lesson 2, sectors of economy. So primary sector involves activities that exploit nature, such as agriculture, fishing, and livestock and animal rearing. So agriculture is one of these primary activities. But the reason here says that it involves transforming raw materials into more useful goods through the manufacturing process. This one word right here, manufacturing, already told us that the reason is incorrect, because manufacturing is related to the secondary sector, not the primary sector. So the second you read the word manufacturing, you know that the reason is incorrect, and you know that the answer is option C. It's as simple as that. So that concludes this short video on a few assertion and reasoning questions practice on the lesson of agriculture. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, had a great learning experience. Share this video with a few of your other friends who might find this useful. And if you want more similar videos like this where I complete some MCQs and give you explanations, then feel free to comment down below. So until the next video, this is Nishal Tube signing off. Peace.